Melissa Kahn, whose film High Strung we just watched. And I hinted at this before I hit record, but I did play tennis. I was on the high school tennis team. I did a couple tournaments when I was a kid, and I had an older brother. I was the younger brother, who, by the way, was better than his older brother at tennis. So I think your film nails everything. But sports films are such a long tradition, and we so rarely get them here at the festival level. And I think you just did a fantastic job, not just telling us the story of a sports film, but obviously you give us this fantastic dynamic father, sons, mother and sons, brothers facing off, sibling rivalry. I just think you tell such a complete story in such an efficient way, with a really compelling tennis game.
Thank you so much.
I think bravo. I think you check all the boxes here. I think you did a great job.
That's always so nice to hear that it strikes a chord. Thank you.
It does. So go ahead and tell us how this came to be and all the roles you played in this film.
Yeah, definitely. For this film, in addition to directing, I co-wrote it with a fellow tennis player. And it's based on my two tennis practice partners when I was a kid. It was the exact same setup. When we were 10, we're all competitive junior tennis players, and the older brother and the younger brother had this exact dynamic. And there was just one night at practice, that older brother really did just take a racket and whack his younger kid brother, and he ran off for the night. And then we're like, should we go after him? And the dad's like, you'll be back. It's just like a very interesting, very memorable thing, where I think a lot of things clicked for me then. Because I think one part is when you have success as a junior player, you are kind of blind to maybe any other, just like the relationship issues don't necessarily come up with you and your parents, or you lose awareness, and you can be privileged to not be aware of other problems, perhaps, or unhealthy relationships in some sense. And then that just clicked a lot of things for me when I saw that and thought about that. I was like, if I didn't have enjoyed that same success, I would be in this position and I would be miserable to some extent. It was kind of an interesting moment of realization.
Yeah, and I mean, you seize the opportunity to really look into the culture of parents. And, I grew up here in LA, so I have lots of Asian friends, and, we never stopped talking about whose parents were harder on whom, so you really gave a nice personal view of that through the two brothers. Yeah. And all right, let me just ask the first question that would have come from the audience. And I got to tell you, I watched it multiple times. So did it bounce twice is going to be, there's half the audience is going to be like, I really think it bounced twice. And the other half is going to be, no, man, the younger one got to it. So is that something that you can answer?
Yes, I will give you the answer, but of course the goal was always to stimulate that and compel that conversation about, kind of mental states and what we perceive as, our own passive aggressive, is it in our head or is it actually happening? It's one thing that I guess I wanted to bring to light, but I will say it did double bounce, and it does it by 1.5 or 2 frames. It was went through a lot of testing with different audiences to make sure it was ambiguous enough.
Wow, amazing work, because when I first saw it, I saw a double bounce, and then when I rewatched it, I lost complete confidence in that call. And I'm not surprised that you played competitive tennis, because you got so many details right. He's asking for line judges. He's and then the line judge was like, I don't know, it was just you really captured the spirit of it, and yeah, you definitely show that in a moment that hard to to analyze, it really is all about the bias you're bringing to it.
Yeah.
So was this you? I think it was before we started recording that you talked about how you really enjoyed making this handheld.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you look at Wimbledon or Battle of the Sexes or any other tennis films that have been done previously, they do a tripod or very, very steady shot to make those visual effects simple. And one thing I really wanted to bring was, let's get a tennis film where we actually have some handheld motion and it feels a little more Saving Private Ryan, and you're in with them, feeling how crazy and how tough those points are. I think from afar, you always get a sense of how easy it feels, you know, and just bringing that kind of warlike battle sense into it was really important for me. Though it made the visual effects a lot more difficult. It was completely worth it.
So did you have to? So you had to do visual effects in post here and there, or because I swear it's so good that I've watched it a couple times, and I think they're just playing. And I figure you might have, if you had told me, yeah, I had to shoot every point 17 times on average until like I got the result I was after, I would believe you, because you know, for all I know, you spent like 2 weeks on a tennis court. You know, you had access to a court. You just like shot the hell out of it. Were
Yeah.
they actually swinging with no ball?
They're swinging with no ball. We had 5 shoot days, and I coached both of them to make sure that we could, you know, I still spent, I think, 30 hours of coaching them in tennis to make sure those swings and the timing looks good. And then I also brought both my actors together, and we had a boom box on set that just kind of played a metronome, so that every hit was at least timed realistically. And then for our toughest point, the long last one with the double bounce, I had spliced together Djokovic and Nadal's grunts from a point from Wimbledon, so that when they played, they just grunted along, and we like choreographed it like a dance, and we practiced that in itself for I think an hour and a half to make sure it looked right.
Wow, we're focusing so much on the technical. I've got a note to share that'll get us back to the storytelling you do, because you really, as a writer and director, you tell such a compelling story among the family. But I think you really accomplished something here, because I think Matt, obviously, as an adult, I can remember being a kid and losing it, but Mackie is so in the wrong, and yet I am 100% on his side. And the fact that you can get audiences to, you know, to hold both points of view, to think there's nothing more inappropriate than jumping over that net and swinging at your. If he dropped the racket and gone after him, yeah, he actually would have had better standing than swinging the racket. But he's going after his younger brother with a weapon, and I still feel for him, and I'm still a little bit on his side. I guess that you accomplished that by making Mackie the underdog. From at check-in, he's the underdog, and everyone around there is the younger brother's friend. So, but just great storytelling, great screenwriting too. You did a lot more than just shoot cool tennis scenes.
Appreciate that. Yeah, and that's so great to hear that that was your response to it, because, you know, I think that's one tough thing when you look at it from the outside. If we just saw Mackie, you know, just swing the racket, you're like, this kid is crazy. But once you know his story, I hope it can compel a conversation where people kind of look at how they, you know, treat the important people in their lives and the ones they love. Because sometimes the way that you care for someone can do them a lot of harm in some ways, or have unintended effects on their mentality. So that response is like just gold to my ears. Thank you.
My pleasure. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's hard. At the end there, he's telling his father, I don't even want to play this game. And I don't know if they're listening to him.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing even to this day, when I talk about it with some of my other SoCal Asian bred friends, you know, there's a tendency it's just from my experience, it's obviously not specific to Asian American parents, but happens quite frequently, and it's been noted in my circles, like that, a lot of parents will either suppress any, emotions that are unfavorable to them, or suppress any emotional responses that they just don't want to deal with, right? And, in a way, I wonder what the healthier way is to do it, and how we can kind of like, just bring people that love each other to a healthier place to communicate, right? It's kind of a complete lapse of communication in that. And so, even at that end, where it's like, where's Calvin? It's like, what? Wow, whatever.
That was when you finished your sentence. I was going to say, when the mother says, "Where's Calvin?" Oh my God. I was like the younger brother. So like, I'm normally very anti older brother, but oh my God, that's such a heartbreaking moment. Oh my God.
Yeah. To, to completely feel that, I mean, I guess I've seen that. I'm also the younger sibling in my family, and I'm the golden child. So I have seen this happen. So that was lifted from my family.
Well, actually, the younger is actually always the better child. So it's only natural that we be the favorite. We're just, in general, who you gonna like, whatever. But yeah, and actually, it's perfectly understandable. I mean, she sees her husband and her older son. Where's the fourth? I mean, she's not totally showing that favoritism as much as, who knows where he ran off to. But
yeah, it's like a cruel pragmatism, even, that just, yeah, it's makes sense to ask.
so what's well, how long? So now that I know that you did have them swinging with no ball, and that this was a big visual effects thing, was this just an arduous journey? Did you have like the difficult post thing, or did you have help where you had to be patient?
I in terms of post, like, working with my editor Boe was amazing, but in terms of visual effects, I had one person help me, Ivy, with some like removals, because we had a bunch of trackers all over the court, because all over the fence. So there's like two parts: that paint out and removal, and then tracking those markers to add the tennis ball and have it a 3D space that makes sense for the tennis ball to exist. And that took me, I think it took me 7 months total to do, because it's technically 148 visual effects shots if you count it that way. So it was much more massive than I had wanted or expected, but I'm very grateful that I've had it done.
Yeah, my lord, you are now, by trial by fire, you're ready to do like a major effects movie for a big studio.
Oh yeah, I can definitely apply as a roto paint artist and a tracking artist, no
You
question.
can, and you could, if someone told you, what, do a battle between Captain America and Thor, you could just like, you're ready.
But hopefully I can stick to the writing directing part of it. But
For
yeah.
sure, for sure. Was this your first? How many films in are you?
Oh, so this was my thesis film as part of the UCLA MFA program. I had done 3 other shorts in the program prior, but this one definitely was the closest one to my heart.
Oh, great work, great work. Before we get to 15 minutes, are there, obviously you had some help, although you did sounds like you did all the heavy lifting, or a lot of heavy lifting, but are there people who deserve shout outs? Obviously your cast actually did a great job.
Yeah, my lead, thank you, Christian Alexander Cruz, and thank you, Kieran Tamandong, for just like, doing a sports movie where things are going nuts and visual effects are happening, and just staying focused the whole time, and keeping everyone on set lifted. I had an absolute ball on set, and so did everyone. It was actually the easiest shoot technically I've ever done. It was the post that was difficult, but the production itself was so smooth, with them. And my producer, Maxon Moulton, nailed it. There was nothing on my mind but just focusing on directing, which I hadn't experienced previously. And of course, my co-writer, Nathan Nee, a fellow tennis player, like we actually, it's shocking that we can come up with a similar story without him initially having known that these were based on two people that were my practice partners. It was kind of very fascinating how on the same wavelength we were. Yeah, and my editor Bowie knocked it out of the park. I have nothing but great words for my cast and crew. Yeah.
As we should. It's everything about it just came out well, and congratulations. I hope it was well received at UCLA. I assume so. And are you taking it around in this era of COVID? Are you doing the whole festival circuit thing?
Well, you guys are my first stop. You
Ah,
guys are my official premiere, and then we'll see what happens next. But yeah, this is my first time applying for a lot of festivals too, so new journey. Let's see how it goes.
I hear it's a horrible process,
Yeah, that's
but
what I'm getting the sense of, though thankfully you guys are super chill, so thank you.
well, we thank you, and that's an honor. It's funny. I never think to ask, is it a premiere or not? But that's cool. It's cool that we get to premiere stuff even during a pandemic.
Definitely.
And great film, great work. I tell you, I really enjoy it. Now I know how you accomplished that, man. You did the visual effects. The double bounce. I guess here I am being a moron thinking, wow, they must have shot that like so many times to have the questionable bounce.
Yeah, you're thinking it's like Jackie Chan style, 99 takes. Nah. um, we took there was 11 takes of that on set, and there was a few things like I sped up or removed some frames for his movement. But I, for reference, some of it is rather than computer simulations, instead I just took live action reference with my iPhone of me hitting some shots, and I just took few simple bounces, and that was the easiest way to animate it and get it to look just right with physics.
Cool. So you're still playing?
This film has inspired me to return to playing. Just linking up with the people who the film are based on, and just and especially with COVID, it's this is the only sport that is safe to do. So
it makes perfect sense. You're 45 feet apart. Well, I guess you're giving me the perfect final question, which is, so what do those brothers think about the retelling of something you saw them do many years ago?
They thought it was great, but I don't know. That's through a message, in the chat.
Oh.
I actually, all the tennis equipment, I borrowed it from them. So they were complete supporters of the film and knew it up front what it was about them. So yeah, I hope they liked it, but I also, through just a little text I never know for sure what they're truly thinking, I guess.
Good point in this era. You don't, unless you're video chatting, you don't really know if the person's going like this.
Yeah.
All right, well, it was a pleasure to meet you. And I assume you're here in LA since you're the UCLA connection.
Yep.
So keep making films. It came out great.
Thank you so much, Jeff.
Thanks, Melissa.
Okay.
And now I'll hit stop.